Hi, my name is Tori Pritchett, and today is January 25th, 2023. And this week, there were 229 reported cases of COVID-19 in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County area, which shows a 29% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, each subject is comfortable not wearing a mask. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Anthony, and I'm going to give him the opportunity to introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Anthony Jones. I'm a senior here at Johnson C. Smith University. I'm a dancer. I'm a singer. I like listening to music. What else? I'm a content creator. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so with you saying all of that, if you could, tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know we did do a hand map activity. Was there anything that you would like to share on it at this time?
Yeah. Let's see. So on the outside, I have family. Outside of my hand, I have family because, in my life, my family they were just always there. They were always attentive. They always bring me joy, sometimes pain, but at the end of the day, we were always there for each other. I have me, because most of the things that take care of me, I do. So I have me. I have to give some credit to myself. Meditation, a sound mind it's always a plus in life. Music, like I said, I enjoy music a lot. Video games. I enjoy video games. I play 2K. Yeah.
Fortnite? No Fortnite.
Nah, no Fortnite. Yeah,
no Call of Duty or anything like that.
Call of Duty.
Okay.
Fortnite. That was like high school.
Okay.
Yeah, that's old. Nah, Call of Duty for sure.
Okay.
Friends. Yeah, man. I mean, friends. That's like the it's below family. So.
Okay. So these are all the things that kind of support you and keep you going. Now, if you could reflect back to when the pandemic first started.
Okay.
So do you feel like your support system was strong during that time? What were you feeling?
Oh, yeah. Because at the time I was, okay, write this down. So I was at my brother's house when the start of COVID hit.
Okay.
And, it's a spacious home. So, it was safe for the most part. It was fun. We just kicked it all day. I found out new things about him that I didn't know. So it was cool, My brother, he was always cool. I grew up with him since I was a little dude. Me and my siblings, we're always when we're on a grind, we're very separate, whether that be, like different countries or states. But when we come back together, I feel like the pandemic gave us a chance to come back together and spend that quality time and, revisit some things we used to do when we were siblings again. So that happened. And then we can move on to, I guess, like a month into the pandemic, I went with my mom. That's where I originally stayed at.
Okay. And wait, so where's your brother located and where's your mom located?
My brother's located in multiple
different areas.
Yeah, he has he's located in let's see. His main is like Florida.
Okay.
Florida.
Gotcha. Yeah. And where's your mom?
My mom's in California.
Okay, so they're both pretty hot states.
But I forgot to mention, during the pandemic he was out here in California.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So he was out there in California, and then I went back with my mom, and it was interesting. It was pretty normal. TikTok. I forgot TikTok was a big thing.
Okay, so because you are a dancer, and we are going to get into that as well too. Now, during that time, with you starting to dance, what was your classification as far as you being?
Sophomore.
You were a sophomore. Okay, so you had to transition and move back home. And just a little recap here. And then you were with your brother, and then you went with your mother, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you picked up on TikTok. You got into it a little more. That became the hot
So
social media platform.
Yeah, so I got on TikTok. At first, I didn't, like, the first 3 weeks, I didn't have TikTok. I was like, man, y'all can go ahead and fool with TikTok. I ain't gonna get on. And then, my sisters and brother, they started sending me stuff, and it was like funny stuff. I was like, all right, let me see what this is about. So I hop on TikTok, and then now I'm seeing dancers like dancing on TikTok, and they're getting like a lot of traction and stuff. And it's just fun. So I was like, okay. So I started doing that, and I started to grow, cool little following. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I felt like in the pandemic, if you wasn't doing TikToks in the pandemic, like, what was you doing? Because like you had nothing else to do. You had no work, So yeah, TikTok was a heavy staple in the household.
Okay. Now, did it influence you as far as, the new dances and things like that? Did you have any viral posts?
Let's see. During the pandemic, no.
Not during the pandemic?
No, not during the pandemic.
Okay. What about now?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
Your views are high and things like that?
Yeah, I say the most views I ever got was, 5,000, and I think it was 1,000 likes. But yeah, that was the highest.
Okay.
For my account.
All right. Mm-hmm. So you're working your way up there. That's good. That's still a lot. Mm-hmm. Now, during that time, like I said, I know you transitioned back home. How did you feel about that? Like, going back home, it's like, you're a sophomore, you just finished your first year, and it's like your sophomore year, I feel like you really understand like how college flows and things like that.
Right.
So where were you at mentally?
Mentally, I was mentally out because I don't like Zoom. Mm-hmm. So, with Zoom, I had to like put in like my full capacity to like pay attention, especially dance. Like, you always, the instructor tells you to do something and then you do it. And then they're like, you didn't do it right. You weren't on beat. When really I was. It's just a connection that, over Zoom. So it's like there was a lot of cons going into it. I didn't really have a choice. It was either, I perform at my highest ability, mm-hmm. with the cards I have right now, or, I just quit, and I wasn't going to quit. So, yeah, I kind of just sucked it up and just kept pushing.
Because dance is something that you're passionate about, correct? How long have you been dancing?
I've been dancing, it's going on 6 years.
6 years? And when did you first become interested in dancing?
Oh, since I was like 5, 6.
5?
Yeah. I used to watch Step Up. I know you know about Step Up.
Yes.
Yeah. I used to watch Step Up 2, Step Up 3. I didn't really watch 4. But yeah, those are the main 3.
It influenced you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And where do you see yourself now? Because you had a lot of time to kind of grow and adjust. Even during the pandemic, like did your style of dance change? Did you become interested in anything else?
My style of dance change. I feel like it had like a slight shift. Mm-hmm. I think it's because, when you're dancing in the studio, your movements can be more freer, can be bigger range of motion, more extensions. But with, during the pandemic, I was just dancing in the living room, training in the living room. So it's like I couldn't do much because, it's LA, it's an LA apartment. So like 600 to 800 square feet. So yeah, I was just in the living room, and I feel like my moves were more boxed in, along with my creativity. So yeah, that's kind of like the factors I had to deal with.
Now, were you able to go to dance studios during that time, or what were some of the restrictions during that time? Because a lot of things are changing.
Oh, yeah. You were not allowed, like they literally didn't have the studios open for you to go train or anything. I say, if I do the math, like July, or it was like leading into 2021, like right before 2021, they started allowing studios open. You can come pay to come train, and but there were still limitations. They always have the spots on the floor, so you just had to stay in your box, and because those are like the precise measurements of the 6 feet. So yeah, that's what we had to obey to.
Okay. Now, did that open up your level of creativity even more? I know you mentioned that before, but how did you become more creative?
I say less creative and more like physically. How can I say? Like I became more physically like as far as stamina, because I had my mask on.
Okay.
And when you're dancing so much, sweat starts to go into your mask, and you basically getting blocked. Like there's not as much air coming in, and so you could be doing a number, and then the choreographer can say, "Okay, from the top." So you're doing that the whole hour, just repetitiveness of just dancing, and yeah, I feel like my stamina definitely grew during that time.
Okay. And your transition back to school, how was that for you? Being able to be around your friends, and just adapting back to how society was before.
Oh yeah, I feel like it wasn't that big of a man. My memory, but from what I remember, it wasn't. I say it was hard to recognize people for sure. Like I literally walk by someone, they'd be like, "Dang, you ain't gonna say that?" And I'm like, "My fault. I ain't used to this."
Yeah.
So that's one factor. I'm a very affectionate person. My dad, he always kisses on the forehead. So people that I meet or that I know, I always give them hugs and everything, or so couldn't do that.
Yeah. So how did that make you feel as a person? Not being able to, hug your friend, right, and, stay at a distance.
Yeah, it felt weird. I was literally fighting myself, especially with the person that stands on, stay away from me 6 feet. I had to really respect it. So it's like I had to, it was definitely a sacrifice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I can definitely understand that. And for you, how was it transitioning back to not really being on Zoom, so being in person? How was that for you?
Great. It's so great because, like I said before, it was just connective issues. Sometimes Zoom would kick you out. So the fact that, we can be back in face to face, I say to go into a deeper level is, you're just connecting with humans. It's a beautiful thing. It's a more intimate, you share a more intimate relationship when you see people face to face. And yeah, that was the main thing for me.
Definitely. And I know you said that you are a gamer. So during that time, do you still game? Or
yeah,
did it pick up? Did it increase during COVID?
Oh yeah, it for sure increased.
It did.
Yeah. I got really. I think that was during the pandemic is when I started to release content. The quality wasn't good, but
Explain what you mean by that. Tell me more about your content.
Yeah, so so on YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. I play GTA, 2K. Let's see what else. I play Call of Duty, And I think those are like the main games that I push content for. So, you know, for the people out there, content creators, we just play games and we have a camera on us, or we have a voice, like an audio, and then we just, you know, make commentations on what's happening in the game and, you know, stuff like that. And then we just post it. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, did that increase? Because it's like with that, that's hard to be a content creator. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as far as your following and things like that, did that increase? Or
in terms of me pushing out content, I feel like it didn't increase nor decrease. It just
stayed the same.
Stayed the same.
Okay.
I'd say because I was on Twitch, and Twitch, for the people out there, it's a live stream. People can come in and, you know, watch you live. I was on Twitch, and you know, I was getting like 50. There was one time I was playing 2K and I was getting like 50 viewers coming in. So I say that was like the highest point of my content creation. But yeah.
Okay, so that's another thing that you're passionate about too, like pushing that out,
right,
and things like that. What about now? Now that, you know, you have school, I'm not sure if you work or anything like that, but you have a lot of things that you have to do now. So do you still have that same amount of time as before?
No, I barely pick up the controller anymore. Yeah, I just, you know, I have rehearsals. I'm gonna begin to work next week, so you know, that's a big thing. Work nights.
Yes, you can do it.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I have performances like every month. Well, every other week. By the way, I tour around Charlotte, so you know, yeah, it's gonna be dope. Let's see.
As far as you can explain too, as far as what you'll be touring, is it a showcase?
Okay, I can plug myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. We perform at this place called Loose Leaves. It's a museum. We actually made history there. We're part of the history books. You know, it's an African museum.
Okay.
And yeah, we have some history there. We performed. It was last semester. So yeah, we got some history there. And then we're gonna be performing at the Charlotte Ballet, which is, you know, that's, everybody know the Charlotte Ballet. That's a legendary spot that everybody goes to. Billie Eilish performed there, so we're gonna be performing on the same stage, and a whole bunch of others.
Now, with you have these upcoming showcases, are there still any restrictions, or is it full force now? You're able to, you know, dance freely. It's not as many restrictions.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, there's not as much restrictions, but it depends on, you know, each and every person. If people have boundaries, of course we're going to respect it. But, you know, if the main rehearsal person says, I don't, find anything wrong with, being close or have contact improvisation or like, dancing close, then, it's most likely gonna go that way. So, yeah, that's how it is.
All right. And so just to respect your time, is there anything that you would, any advice that you would like to give for any future aspiring dancers if they are going through a challenging time? Because, the pandemic is something that is very challenging, Any advice that you would give to a future dancer? Or?
Take care of your body. Even if it's a little pain in your knee or a little pain anywhere, like literally meditate, like become like bodily aware that it exists, stretch every day, feed yourself greens and all that good stuff. And also make sure that, because, dancers, we work so hard, like tirelessly every day. Always find time for yourself, because, you can get burnt out in dancing because, it's such a rigorous career, so yeah, those are the main ones. And make sure that, you know, whoever you connect with, network with, make sure it's always genuine. So, you know, the work that you put out is genuine.
Okay. All right. Well, Anthony, the Living Archive team definitely appreciates you for taking the time out to be with us today, okay?
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.